Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Business Breakthroughs. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your hosts, Michael Millay and Andrew Honigstad. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, how's it going?
Chris, you need to stop cracking this up right before it's
Well, that's good. I love it. We were quoting Happy Gilmore before we switched it over here. It's super good. No smoking guns and Shooter McGavin. All right, guys, listen. We're coming off a great episode talking about addiction to hustle, which I love that conversation because I really feel like there's a lot of people trying to make a living, trying to build a business, which I so admire. And I feel like sometimes it's very confusing to be an entrepreneur because everybody's got an opinion for how we should do it. And what we're left with is a bag of confusion. So we just go hustle because that seems to be the fastest path to doing something, right?
And I think what's next.
Yeah, well, and I feel like today's episode gets to kind of backfill with actual like intelligence and strategy instead of just pure energy and hustle. So
yeah. Well, and I was just going to say, the quick thing, right, is like, for us, we're looking at your strengths today. Right. And, what we talked about is hustle is a lack of strategy and a ton of action.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. Yes.
If you're going to put your energy into something, it should be your strength. So, that's why it's important to put this on the back end of the hustling.
Yeah. Can we talk about what a strength is? Because I feel like that word is used a lot. What is a strength?
So a strength is defined in two ways. One, it's something that gives you energy, that you're more lit up from having done it than you are from doing just about anything else.
Yes. Pause. So on that, if I'm a real estate agent, let's just keep going back. That's my background. So
no, it's perfect.
If I'm making phone calls and I don't like that, when I make phone calls, it actually drains my energy. We could say that's not a strength.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Versus if I do an open house and I really enjoy people coming in or networking, I really enjoy talking to humans, and that gives me energy. That would be a strength.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
The second aspect of a strength is how effective it is, how good you are at it.
Okay, good.
So you might get a lot of energy out of doing open houses, and you might get 0 leads from it.
Got it.
Now, what that means is one of two things. Either you need to develop a better strategy for doing your open houses, and you need to learn a better system, or open houses just aren't your thing and you like connecting with people, but you need to find a different way to connect with people.
Yeah. And it's interesting because what I was going to say is it just because it applies so well into the hustling, right? It's like, look, if you do like open houses, even if you're not that effective at them right now in this moment, take all of that hustle that you would in phone calls and everything else and pour it into becoming good at open houses.
Right.
And that means taking the classes, doing whatever is available and offered to you around open houses. Right. But don't just go to trainings. That's not what's going to be there for you. Go to open house trainings. Go be specific in your hustle. Just because it applies, I'm going to keep using it all episode long.
Cold call scripts training every single morning.
Right.
Or practice role-playing cold calls every morning, which, I mean, is a valid strategy.
Yeah.
It's a valid strategy, but if it's not what you're going to spend your time doing, if you're going to spend maybe a half-hour cold calling because, dear God, it sucks the life out of you, then spending an extra half-hour practicing it probably isn't the best use of your time.
I feel like people can get this conversation the way we've laid it out so far. People can get like, yeah, okay, like that's very refreshing to me. I love the idea of that. And then tomorrow comes and I'm back into the way I was doing it. So to me, there's some obstacle or hurdle to the owning of the strength. I get the concept of my strength. I could probably even point to areas in my life where I feel strong. But then tomorrow I don't actually go invest in that. So what are some of the things that get in the way of me actually owning and performing in or executing on the strength?
Yeah, I think the very first thing about it is that when you're in your strengths, doesn't feel like you're working hard.
Ooh, we're back to the last episode. Like, if I don't feel like I'm working hard, then I must not be working.
Right, exactly.
I must be lazy. I'm cheating.
Exactly. And it just like it all I mean, it really all does circle together, which is why this is so great to put on the end of that last episode.
Yeah,
but
right.
you know, if you don't feel like you're working hard, then you're going to feel like you're cheating the system somehow.
Yep.
And fun fact, we are trying to get you to cheat the system.
Yeah,
so
right.
like, that's actually what our goal is here.
Because it's not cheating.
Right.
Well, it's more like somebody else defined the system.
Right.
That person, it worked for them. That, you know, entity, whoever it was, it worked for them. But if it doesn't work for you, then don't play in that system. You know, and I think that I think that's one of the reasons. I think the other reason why people have a hard time working in their strengths is, so, you know, let's say we'll go with the open house example.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So open houses are typically Saturday, Sunday, right? So then what do you do Monday through Friday?
Right.
Right. And suddenly somebody goes, I totally get it. And I'm going to make sure I get an open house this weekend. But since I don't have one yet, I need a cold call.
Right.
Well, maybe not. Maybe you should be spending your time getting open houses for this weekend. Make sure that you don't have any weekends where there are not open houses in your slot.
Actually, can I backfill on that for a second? Because
Yeah,
I
please
feel
do.
like the other part of this is deconstructing what the event, like if it's open houses and you feel strong, that's a strength of yours. Can you deconstruct what is happening that makes that? Because if you're limited to a weekend open house, you're going to limit the amount of repetitions you can have with the thing you're strong at, right?
Correct.
So if what makes an open house feel good is that people come to you, you don't have to go hunt people, right?
Yes.
And there's something for people to interact with called a home. They walk through and they're like, oh, this is like their energy is better. They're higher. They're excited about it. You're starting to deconstruct the actual experience of what makes that work for you. Now that you know that, you can actually recreate that Monday through Friday in some other form, whether it's a weekly open house, fine, or maybe you find some other way to have people come into something where their energy's high, they come to you.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Well, there's also, if you're really good at open houses, what happens? You end up with 20-something people to follow up with.
Right.
Doing that all week is a completely valid form of cold calling, because it's not cold, it's actually warm.
It's warm.
And you feel better because you get to remind them.
And they already met you.
Once you've deconstructed what you enjoyed about it, right?
Right.
When you call them, you get to be like, hey, you know, I know you really had a great time in this house. It's so lovely. I love the foyer. I don't care what.
Right.
And you just, you know, you get them excited. I was just calling because I wanted to see, like, what did you think? Where were you at? I personally I love the house so much. That phone call, the energy and excitement, personally, I would be an open house guy and Michael would be a cold call guy. So this works very well. But like, I can keep up a certain level of energy and excitement. So even if that person's like, oh, yeah, you're a realtor, I don't really want to talk to a realtor. It's like, that's okay. I just want to talk to you about the house.
Right.
And it's your in and you feel comfortable with it.
Right. Yeah.
And so, you know, there's a lot of different things you can do when you're running open houses. Yeah. You know, if you just run those on the weekends, you can do a lot Monday through Friday to actually continue that flow, if you will. And so yeah, I think though, going back to what I was saying is, I think what happens is a lot of people don't think about that. They think about well, open houses is a Saturday, Sunday activity.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
So what do I do Monday through Friday?
Yeah.
How do I live in my strengths when my strengths are open houses and it's Monday through Friday?
The other
and it goes to what you were saying though, of like deconstructing. You deconstruct the experience. You deconstruct what it takes to have an open house, what it takes to follow up on open houses, and you start to look at all those things. Suddenly there's a lot for you to do.
The other part of it is like, look, join a BNI, join Toastmasters, join something where you can speak about stuff and have people that approach you. Join different networking communities that allow you to be in front of people presenting and showing off something or sharing something or sharing your knowledge, because a lot of the times people who like open houses really like sharing. They don't like networking events. but they like sharing something they have to offer with people.
Yeah.
And can we take this a little bit of a wonky direction right now? Because this, I think, is going to help people. Okay, great. I got you guys.
If it doesn't work, it's your fault. I'm okay with it.
I'm okay. I'm pretty sure even if it works, it's my fault. Wait, no.
Then it's to your credit. Then you're the
no. Then it's my fault. I let him go there.
Yeah. Okay.
No. So the best place to figure out your strengths is to actually look at your weaknesses.
Okay.
Because
to explain.
The things you're weak at are also your greatest strengths. So, like, for example, hustle for me is not a strength, right?
No.
In fact, anti-hustle is actually my strength.
Okay.
Where, like, and what that means is, like, when I'm in my weakest state, I'm going to do nothing for an entire day. Like, that's me fully in my weaknesses, being lazy, inefficient, nothing gets done.
Mm-hmm.
However, the flip side of that is it's also my strength of being very strategic and methodical and efficient. So sometimes there'll be like 2 or 3 weeks where Andrew will be like, oh man, Michael, I guess you kind of did the requirements needed for upholding your part. And then one week he'll like turn around and be like, did you just move that mountain? And I'm like, what mountain?
Nice.
Because for me, it's not about, okay, I'm going to hustle harder. I'm going to grind harder. I'm going to work the 80 hours a week. If I work 80 hours a week, my head's going to blow up and literally nothing will get done. Whereas Andrew knows if I have a little bit more pacing to it and I kind of have a little more of a free form to it, I start to get really strategic and efficient.
Yeah.
And things randomly show up according to him that aren't necessarily inside of the scope of what's right in front of us.
Right.
But that's part of it, is like utilizing our strengths. Is I look at my weakness, which is what most people would consider laziness or not, or anti-hustle or whatever it is. But that's also my strength.
Yeah. I found sometimes assessments like the DISC profile or Myers-Briggs or different assessments can help pinpoint things that feel true to you. Like I love when I take an assessment and I read the report, and there are certain sentences where I'm like, oh my God, that is so me. I feel so understood. I'm like, that is so me. It could even be my horoscope for that matter. Like where you're just like, when truth is spoken about you, it doesn't matter where it comes from. You go, oh my God, that's totally who I am. And I think the DISC profile is actually perfect because it starts to point you to your point, Michael, like your weaknesses point to your strengths. Like if you looked at the DISC profile, high Ds, driver personalities who are task-oriented, fast-paced, have no problem making cold calls because they enjoy the rejection. It's a challenge for them. Like, bring it on. Right. Let's see what we can do. But if that's not you, you could actually go to the opposite quadrant and be like, I hate making these calls. Well, let's look at why that is. You could actually see your strengths being that you're actually slow-paced, people-oriented, and what you prefer is a one-on-one meaningful conversation. That's why phone calls don't work for you, because phone calls are task-oriented things trying to get to a yes, whereas one-on-one conversations are actually a meaningful exchange. Like those are opposite ends of the quadrants, right? Mm-hmm. But I think
I'm a D, Andrew's an I.
Yeah. Right.
When I did the test, I was a 99 natural I.
Yeah.
And I adapted to a 99 I.
So you were the same across your natural and adaptive styles?
Everything adjusted on my scale except for my eye. It was like, it was just the same. You need to be with people, period. Doesn't matter what's going on.
Right.
Be with
high exchange of ideas. I do feel, guys, I feel like if you don't know where to start, like you can look in your own life for evidence of what feels good to you, what feels strong. And sometimes it helps to get an outside perspective, like using a DISC profile or ... wink, wink, having a coach, right? Having a coach can sometimes give you guys perspective on where can pull out of you what you're really good at and how you could use that. You can't even see how you can use your strengths sometimes.
Right.
That's why
and actually, so like just to speak to the DISC and the coaching and stuff. So like part of it is, as a coach, we've looked at tons of different assessments, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if it's an assessment, I've taken it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Go high eye.
well, but I mean, and part of it though is that there's a reason that we know so much about strengths and weaknesses. We've done DISC, we've done the
Myers-Briggs, strength finders,
the KPA, at some point you just start forgetting the names.
Right.
Yeah, you're not sure
we
which
have one that
was
we use now, which
anymore.
I personally think is the best one. But I mean, that's a different issue. But like, there's so many different assessments and so many different things for people finding their own truth.
Yeah.
And it's all just a different perspective on it. And the reason why those work is because it gets something outside of yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not about you. It's about having something be reflected back to you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where the value is in. And that's why reaching out to us at myperfecthire.com and scrolling down and being like, hey, we want to talk to you, or I want to talk to you, or, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm doing in my business, but I feel compelled to talk to you, or my business is perfect, but there's an inkling of something that you said that's keeping me up at night for nights on end, so I better talk to you.
Right.
And those are the types of things and that really make the difference, is getting that outside reflection and being able to have that mirror in front of you. Because if you don't know yourself and you don't know your strengths and you don't know your weaknesses, you're going to be stuck in that hustle addiction.
That's right.
Yeah. And what's interesting is a lot of people who think they know.
Yeah.
It still never hurts to have the conversation. You know, we use a personality test at the start of our program because we get a feel for who you are pretty quickly. We're good at it. That's why we do what we do, right? We're really good at breaking down sort of where people are and who they are and what their strengths and weaknesses are. But we still use a personality test at the beginning, and, you know, it takes time, but to get the results back. But when you get the results, we use that to say, like, look, this is who we see you as. This is what the test sees you as. And it really all, you know, it all comes together. So, you know, even if you think, you know, even if you've taken the DISC, even if you've done that, without having that added conversation about it, it might or might not help you move the needle forward the way you want to.
Absolutely.
And that's why there's so many different assessments, because the bigger the picture you can get, the clearer the picture you can have, the more information you have about yourself, the better you can strategize around helping yourself move forward and fulfill on things.
Yeah.
And make the difference in your business.
Yep.
That's perfect. That's a perfect place to end, guys. If people want to reach out to you and connect with you, where can they go?
Oh,
You can go to myperfecthire.com. That's fantastic.
Perfect. You said it so well. Yeah, that's great. I love it. So go to myperfecthire.com. That's where you guys can connect with Michael and Andrew. I really feel like owning your there is this new era of business where I think we're entering into, where the entrepreneur is more self-aware. It's not so much about following somebody else's model as it is investing and going all in on your own strengths. And that's why I love this conversation about owning your strengths, because it's where the market is headed. It's where people are headed. And if you want to have an advantage over your competition, then you need to be more self-aware than your competition. And that starts with something as simple as owning your strengths. I know these guys, Michael and Andrew, can help you get there. So reach out to them at myperfecthire.com. Guys, good stuff.
Thank you so much.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.